You know, when I became president in January of 1993, back in the dark ages, the average cell phone weighed 5 pounds. And there were 50 sites on the entire World Wide Web. 50. There have been more added than that since I've been talking.
God made man in his own image. God intended for man to become one with God. We are going to become one with God. Cloning and the reprogramming of DNA is the first serious step in becoming one with God.
This issue is going to dominate our global politics this century. This is the issue that will color the century.
As we merge with machines, and I think it's inevitable that we will transform and are going to start linking with each other and become this meta-intelligence. And we will eventually become an interconnection of the entire human race. And we will become godlike once you plug into that global network.
CEO Elon Musk, it has nothing to do with cars. Instead, Musk warns about artificial intelligence, which he has called more dangerous than nuclear weapons. Musk spoke at a symposium at MIT.
We should be very careful about artificial intelligence. If I were to guess at what our biggest existential threat is, it's probably that. So we need to be very careful with artificial intelligence. I'm increasingly inclined to think that there should be some regulatory oversight maybe at the national and international level, just to make sure that we don't do something very foolish. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out.
One paper goes on to say that activity can change rapidly in a crisis event or a warfare scenario, and it's able to change or rewrite its own COA or course of action on the fly. The system is aware. It has total awareness, even in a rapidly changing environment.
Hold your place there. Let me ask you something. Where's the central input point for this data that results in these solution calculations?
From what I can ascertain, there is no central data input point. What I've been able to glean from all these papers and that is that these huge data dump centers, like the one in Blufftail and many, many other ones, are connected into this global information grid. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, the global information grid would be the central point on the network system.
Takes me a minute to get my mind around these things, but I'm with you. Keep rolling.
Okay. Now, Format, which is the force management module for this system, was developed by the MITRE Corporation, and it's used to support knowledge acquisition. Okay, that's data collection. That's what the NSA is performing on everyone, not just identified threats, but everyone. Why? Because the government now perceives the American people, I believe, as its greatest threat, and it will use a computer-driven military to clamp us down. Patriots will be classified as terrorists, and the true terrorists, the U.S. puppet government we have out there who receives its directives and agendas from the ruling elite, they'll be deemed patriots to be protected at all costs.
Makes sense.
Okay, the third module in this system is known as PARCA. It's able to handle extremely complex structured queries against large knowledge bases or large databases, data dumps. Have you ever wondered why, or has anybody ever asked the question, why the NSA is telling everyone they're only collecting metadata or meta tags?
I don't even fully understand what those things are. But look, if you'll define them and then ask that question again, it'll be easier for us to track with you.
Okay, meta tags, or metadata contain virtually no information or data in and of themselves. Meta tags or metadata only have value if they're indexed to a much larger information source or file in these immense databases. So, this is, in my humble opinion, this is just another example of deception through misdirection. Oh, we're just collecting, your phone numbers you're passing by, and we're not keeping any of your emails or your text messages or anything like that. Well, if you look at how this system is structured, that's the critical data the system needs. It can't work off meta tags and metadata. I mean, they're virtually empty data until they're indexed to something or something is indexed to them. Does that?
Good Lord. Go ahead, keep going, I'm with you.
Okay. JADE 2 is, and hold on to your seat for this one, it's a self-reactive, self-adapted, self-modeling program for predictive force deployment. In other words, it can predict conflicts before they occur and react in a preemptive manner. It only it thinks in the present, but it can predict future events or human activity. And these conflicts are not confined to a warfare scenario either. Excuse me. The predict and preempt capabilities can also be applied to scenarios of social unrest. And that's not just my opinion, that's stated right in the reports and the papers on this software.
Good grief.
Now, I have to ask you about a company that you invested in. As you said, you make almost no investments outside of SpaceX.
Yeah, I'm not really an investor.
You're not an investor.
Right. I don't own any public securities apart from SolarCity and Tesla.
That's amazing. But you did just invest in a company called Vicarious Artificial Intelligence. What is this company?
Right. I was also an investor in DeepMind before Google acquired it, and Vicarious. Mostly, I sort of want to. It's not from the standpoint of actually trying to make any investment return. It's really. I'd like to just keep an eye on what's going on with artificial intelligence. I think there's potentially a dangerous outcome there, and we need to.
Dangerous.
Potentially, yes.
How so?
I mean, there's been movies about this, like Terminator.
Yes, movies are. Even if that's the case, what do you do about it? I mean, what dangers do you see that you can actually do something about?
I don't know.
Well, why did you invest in Vicarious? What exactly does Vicarious do? What do you see it doing down the line?
Well, I mean, the Vicarious refers to it as recursive cortical networks, essentially emulating the human brain. Yeah, so I think, yeah.
So you want to make sure that technology is used for good and not Terminator-like evil?
Yeah. I mean, if in the movie Terminator, they didn't create AI they didn't expect, some sort of Terminator-like outcome. It's sort of, like that Monty Python thing. Nobody expects this vanishing position. It's just like, but you got to be careful. So you want to make sure that.
But here's the irony. I mean, the man who's responsible for some of the most advanced technology in this country is worried about the advances in technology that you're aware of. I mean, I guess that's why I keep asking, what can you do? In other words, this stuff is almost inexorable, isn't it? How, if you see that there's these brain-like developments out there, can you really do anything to stop it?
I don't know.
Well, what should AI be used for? What's its best value?
I don't know. But there's some scary outcomes, and we should try to make sure that the outcomes are good and not bad. Yeah.
Or escape to Mars if there's no other option.
The AI will chase us there pretty quickly.
And as the ultimate disruptor, when you look at all the technologies out there, you talked a little about artificial intelligence. What else do you think is really disruptive to the status quo right now?
Well, rewriting human genetics.